Well, good evening, everyone. We're so glad that you joined us. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Daniela Earle. I'm Director of Athletics here at Knox College. And, before we even start, thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. Crew has asked me, however, before we get too far into it, to run through 3 housekeeping items for this Zoom call. This event is going to be a meeting format rather than a webinar. So it'll be a little more personalized. There'll be a lot more collaboration between all of us. You can see who's in attendance. You can ask questions. You can share comments openly. You'll notice the chat box, so feel free to use that. Crew and I will be monitoring that. This meeting will also be recorded. So we'd like to be able to share the program with the Knox community, those that wanted to come that couldn't. You do have the capability to turn your video on and off if you wish. Feel free to do what makes you comfortable. And then the third element, prior to the live Q&A session, it would be helpful if you could keep yourself muted. It allows for just a little less noise while speakers are talking. Also, if you start experiencing any issues with the call, submit your question privately to Crew or to I, and we'll certainly make sure that your question gets asked today. So at this point, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Kira, who is on the call. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have her in-house. Just her passion, her desire to lead young athletes, her desire to empower young athletes. Those were all things that really jumped out at me through the interview process. And she's very committed to providing an environment where they feel comfortable but challenged, right? I think it's important to have both. So they feel empowered, they feel comfortable, but they're also challenged to grow, to develop, and both as students and as athletes. So I think Kira is someone who just brings all of that to our program. You know, I've said more than once, and many of you have heard me say this, we want every program here at Knox to be the best version of itself that it can be. And many of our programs are in slightly different places. They're not all in the same place, and they all have work to do. But for women's basketball, and no pressure, Kira, the stakes are high, right? This is a program that has experienced success. The last few years, particularly, this program's grown. Coach Klein did a great job of developing and bringing the program along. Now it's time to move forward, right? Now it's time to take that next step. And as we selected a coach, we really focused on someone who could allow us and help us grow and take that next step. So Coach Mowen, prior to being at Knox, was at Monmouth University. She was the associate head coach and recruiting director there. They helped lead that program to their best finish in the MAC. She coached, I think, a top 10 NCAA 3-point scorer, and they were a top 50 in scoring defense, I believe as high as 35th in the nation in Division I. And then before Monmouth, she was the assistant coach at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, also helped guide that program to their best finish in school history. And then prior to that was the recruiting coordinator and assistant coach at Davidson College. And there are a lot of parallels between Davidson, a Davidson student athlete, and a Knox student athlete. So again, I feel like Coach Mowen is someone who brings a level of excellence and a level of basketball knowledge to the program, while also respecting and frankly encouraging the holistic piece that we all know is so important to Knox. Finally, as a player, she spent part of her collegiate playing career right down the road at University of Illinois, and then also at Youngstown State. So again, she brings some street credibility with the players, right? Coach is someone who's not only going to be able to tell them what to do, but in some cases show them what to do. And that's fun for athletes. So Kira, welcome. We're happy to have you, and we'll get you going here in a minute. So one other person I need to introduce, Crew Keller is also on the call. Crew is our assistant AD for K Club engagement and fundraising. We are partners in crime most of the time. We've really enjoyed having Crew here with us the last year and a half. I hope that many of you recognize him or recognize his name. He's really done some pretty fantastic things with alumni engagement, advancement, really just helping bring our department along. So with that said, Crew, I'm going to turn this show over to you for a few comments, and then we'll get to the main course.
Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. I really appreciate the warm introduction. As Danielle mentioned, it's so great to see so many of you here tonight. I can't really thank you all enough, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be having this call. So it's great to see you, and I look forward to hearing from so many of you here tonight. Before we proceed, a few last kind of Zoom housekeeping items that I want to go over. We're going to try and use the speaker spotlight feature tonight, so that way we always have Kira on the main screen and whoever's asking the question too. So just hang with me while we get to that point, but I will let you know that you do have the ability to edit how you see the screens and these tiles. If you just want to go up to the top right corner, you can click view and you can switch around to speaker or gallery depending on what you like. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and take these first few questions with Coach Mowen before opening it up to a live Q&A. But when we do get to that point, I invite you to either raise your hand in person or raise your hand using the electronic feature, or just simply unmuting yourself. We really want to have an interactive time here tonight. So feel free to speak up, ask your questions, and we'll be excited to hear from you. So with that being said, Kira, welcome. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got a few questions for you. So first and foremost, Kira, what were your thoughts of the interview process? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think I was excited, when I saw the opening at Knox College. The first thing I thought of was the parallels, like Daniela said, to Davidson College and the academic rigor and then the excellence in athletics. So I applied, and through the interview process, coming on my interview, speaking with everybody on campus, and even having questions for my players, it was a very warm feeling, very much so like I had when I went to Illinois, and I'm from Pennsylvania, very rural Pennsylvania. So the Midwest vibe is through and through in my body. So when I came on campus and met everyone, and then even, took phone calls, like I said, from the players, it was that exactly. And I think at that point I kind of realized, or, it touched base in my brain that this might be the place for you. So let's continue the process. Let's see where we go from here. Let's hope that everybody likes, my genuineness and who I am and what I bring to the table. But I very much enjoyed the interview process. It was a great one. And I've been on a couple different ones now with 12 years of experience. So I would say that Knox College and the people and the camaraderie of the department and the staff was probably one of the best that I've ever seen. So, it excited me about what Knox College could bring to my family, as well as to my players, and how I can help them.
Awesome. Second one, and I love this one here. You've had a chance to talk and even meet with the team a few times now. What are your thoughts on the program that you're inheriting, and what leads you into the season?
Man, I'm excited. The COVID year was rough, only playing 3 games, but prior to that, 16-12, that's a great nucleus, right, to be taking over. Not that I have to reinvent the wheel. We have the pieces at Knox and with the women's basketball that we can, push for the Midwest Conference championships and get into those playoffs. So I am excited. I did have, conversations with every player upon taking the job, just to touch base with them, see what they thought, see what maybe their, thoughts and feelings were about their college experience. Because at the end of the day, it's really important for me to make sure that they're having the best experience that they can have as young women. And I want to elevate that or uplift that any way that I can. So in that first initial conversation, we kind of just delved right into maybe, their thoughts and what we could do in the future, or how they felt in the past. And I just felt great. I felt that this was a good program and a great nucleus to start with. And I think that the culture that we're going to build and start with, starting again as early as September and getting there and meeting with all of them is going to be great. I've met with a few of them in my kind of passing by through the Galesburg community as they were on campus. And it's been great. The 5 players that I've met have been awesome. And I think nothing but positive remarks about where we're headed in an outlook for the future.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, segueing nicely, so you're inheriting this talented team, high aspirations. Talk to us a little bit about your coaching style. I'm interested to hear more on this. I know you and I have touched on, being passionate, being gritty, family oriented. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, I mean, anybody on this call can see that I'm talking with my hands right now and I'm like jumping out of my seat, ready to go. So that's just me in a nutshell. I'm passionate. I'm very energetic because in my job, I want to empower, uplift, and educate young women. And as a head coach, I can do that. And I can do that under the ramifications of what we set with Knox College. And so I'm super excited about that. But with that being said, my energy and my passion, I'm going to give that to my players. So that, that's the family in me, right? I've always been a part of programs that speak highly of family. And I think that I want to carry that on or carry that, relationship onto my players. I am a relationship coach. I do want to build the utmost best relationships that I can with my players. In terms of just allowing them to understand that I'm there for them on and off the court. In every endeavor of their life, it's my job to show them the way or to kind of lead them into their own way. So I think that family background, it really uplifts me and it really transforms me into who I want to be, as the head coach of Knox. And I'm excited about it. And then, crew, like you said, gritty. Well, you guys can't see me because I'm not standing up, but I'm a 5'7" shooting guard that made it to the Big Ten. So there is a piece of hard work in me. I don't know why, but I have a very good draw to wanting to get down, kind of roll up my sleeves, in my jacket and get things done, no matter what way. And I can, I just found out again when I was on campus the other day about the gym and how hot it's going to be in there. So, one of these things, and crew, this kind of might go to your next conversation about what our team will look like. Well, I definitely can't wear jackets in that gym. I'm going to be sweating through these jackets. So the grittiness and the hard work, I'm going to be actively invested in every game. And you'll see me pacing the sideline, but I think that's just part of my hard work because I feel like if they're working hard, if they're giving me those 40 minutes, then I need to, as well as the head coach, also give them those 40 minutes and pace the sideline and be the present person that they need. So, I'm just really excited about it. Those are some 3 key words, I guess I would say about me: passion, family, and very gritty, that you can see, or it's going to be evident on the floor this year.
Awesome. Last one that I've got here for you before we open it up to the audience, and you led right into it. When your team takes the court for the first time, what are we looking at? What kind of offense are we running? What's the team going to look like?
Yeah, I hopefully am not pacing the sidelines faster than what they're running down the floor, right? So I would say that, I really do want to push the ball. I like to push the ball in transition. I believe that a secondary break, in terms of basketball speaking, that is the best way to get an opponent, right? Because they're not fully set back on defense. You might have your 5 matching up with your point guard. So I fully believe in a secondary break. After that, you're going to kind of see like a flow and emotion. I don't know how many back to the basket players I'm truly going to get. So it's going to be very movement oriented, kind of read and react. And I think that is best for kind of who we are and looking at our height and looking at our roster depth. I think that we're going to be able to move the ball quickly with, sharp, crisp passes, and it's anybody's ball game at the end of the day with that. But it's going to be a very fluid offense. In terms of scoring, I would like to put up numbers. I'm a scorer by heart, a 3-point shooter by heart. So, threes and layups are what I prefer to get. And naturally, that's just what the women's game you get, the mid-range jumper. While we were perfected and we will work on it, threes and layups are probably what you're going to see from us. So it's going to hopefully be a little bit more fast-paced than maybe what people have seen in the past. Defensively, we're going to be a little bit more up in our defender. In terms of man-to-man and in terms of playing that type of defense, I do want to, have players, and we do have players on our roster right now that can get up into a defender and promote steals for us, so that way we can go and transition to the next end. So I think that faster pace is really what I'm looking for and hoping for as we move into kind of, the season and practices and whatnot. But at the same time, I don't want to have turnovers, out the end of the end zone or out the end of the gym. So we're going to control it a little bit. We will have an offense, a good motion offense, and we'll just go from there. But I think, in terms of points and putting up points and, the pressure that we'll put on our opponents is probably going to be maybe more so than what we've seen in the past.
So crew, I'm going to jump in here. I see that President Andy McGadney has joined us. And for those of you that don't know, President McGadney is the 20th president here at the college. He started on July 1st, succeeding President Amat. I can tell you just from my limited point of view, I can say that in my opinion, President McGadney has displayed some visionary leadership. He has a very strong devotion to the college, providing students a really highly personalized, I use the word holistic, liberal arts education to what is a pretty doggone diverse student body. So we're excited to have him here. With that, President McGadney, thank you for joining us this evening. Would you like to say a few words, and then we'll turn it back over to crew?
All right, great. Well, Daniela, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. Sorry, I was a little late. I'm delighted to welcome Coach Mowen to Knox College. And I have to say, first a big shout out to Daniela. When I was first kind of coming into the Knox family, and I was doing a lot of Zoom interviews, as I'm sure, we are all very familiar with Zoom. What I loved about Daniela from the very start was the Knox branding was everywhere. I mean, talk about a passion, the passion for Knox College. Daniela was truly lit, wearing it on her sleeve, if you will. And you can see by her excitement that it's just exuding within the entire program. So delighted to have her here. And, I know this event is really all about kind of welcoming Coach Mowen to Knox. And I just wanted to briefly say, when I first met Coach Mowen during her interview on this campus, she blew me away. And what I loved about our conversation was her ability to talk the game. As you just heard her talk the game, I just walked in, you're hearing about moving the pace, shooting the threes, the layups. So she's all about the game, but she was also about moving and motivating our women athletes. And, when you're playing in a Division III athletic conference, we care about winning, but we also care about learning. And that learning takes place on the court as well as in the classroom. And what I heard from her during those early moments was something that I think we all can take pride in, is that our women athletes are not only going to perform well on the court, but they're going to perform even better as people, as human beings. And at least that's what I saw from her during our interview. And I'm so excited to welcome you to the community. And I'm sure our Knox family feels the same. So we'll be supporting you. We'll be cheering on our students, and I can't wait to see what happens in the years to come. So welcome.
All right, crew, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Let's keep those questions rolling.
Awesome. Well, I got the first one here. I had it messaged in. And again, a reminder here at this time, feel free to use the chat box or raise your hand so that way we can have an interactive time here tonight. But next one that came in, Kira, for you, how do you plan to recruit? Do you envision more local talent, national? What do you see?
Yeah, I'm coming into a roster actually that is great nationally. I would say that our roster really covers a lot of regions that make Knox prevalent nationwide. One of my biggest things, and I said it in my interview, is that I'd really like to recruit a little bit more regionally, not holding back from the national recruiting scope, but there are some great kids in players in Illinois, in Iowa, in Wisconsin that I have a base with. And so I would really like to see a lot more players, kind of from our region. If we have a 50-50 split in terms of our roster of those that are local, but also those that are nationwide, I think that's great. And I do want Knox to have a prevalence on the nationwide map of Division III colleges, and I want us to be at the top of that. But at the end of the day, I think, some Illinois kids, some Iowa kids, some, Indiana, Wisconsin, any of those local Midwestern kids, I think that I truthfully want to dive into and see if we can get a few more on our roster. I think we've got 3 now from Illinois. I'd like a few more, as well as those other states that kind of touch Illinois, just to see if we can get that kind of a team. So I do want to recruit nationwide, yes, and I believe it is important for Knox College to have that footprint, but I also want to recruit the Midwest very heavily and see if we can get more people to come that are local talent.
Certainly. Kara, I'm going to pitch it to Greg, who we have on the call tonight. He said he has a question about practices. So Greg, go for it.
Okay. First of all, if I may, a quick background. I only played 1 year of basketball for Knox College. That was my first year, 1969. But you can ask Carly about an intramural team with a bunch of us football players. He knows what I'm talking about. Many years later, I did some coaching at the high school level. I was an assistant coach in girls basketball in St. Louis. So I've been away from being a part of the game for a long time. My question is, what's a typical practice like? The length of time, what you work on in terms of warm-up drills, how much you might scrimmage, and how that might change in the course of the season. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the parameters really for me, honestly, are the allotment that I can get on the court. I know I'm sharing the gym with 3 other sports, and that's fine, and that's great. So I have to be very succinct in my practice planning. So to answer your question, I think the first thing, fundamentals will always be first for me, whether that's dribbling, passing, shooting, it will always be a fundamental piece at the very beginning of practice. Now those drills will change throughout the week. So I won't have the same drill that I have Monday that I have Tuesday. It will always be different in terms of ball handling or shooting. It will be different. The middle of the practice for me, or for what it usually typically looks like, is your breakdown session. So whether that's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, however you want to break down maybe an offense or a defense, and it can even be an opponent and how you're going to face an opponent for the week. But I think that the teaching part, the really core nucleus of the practice comes at that middle. That usually looks like about 30 to 40 minutes, honestly, as you teach through and as you walk through stuff to get them to understand new concepts, maybe new terminology that they might not have had in the past. So that teaching part is really the core nucleus of practice. The end of practice for us will typically be our 5-on-5. And for basketball terminology, we say offense, defense, offense, or if we're focusing on defense for the day, we usually go DO to D. So that's kind of at the end of the practice, and we open it up and again allow the players to play, maybe with the assistant coach making some play calls, with myself making some play calls, but typically the scrimmaging portion comes at the end of practice. And again, that might be 20 to 25 minutes. In terms of me coming into this program and how it's going to affect it, well, I'll be teaching something completely new, offensively, defensively, to our players. So it might look different at the very beginning. October 15th, it may look very different. Yes, I do want to get in fundamentals, but can maybe, some of the players work on those fundamentals on their own? Yes, because I'm going to need to put in a whole new offensive defensive system prior to our first game. So for us in the first year, it's going to get, different than what I kind of explained, but not for bad, for good, because I know these players, they want to have that different level of excitement and that different level of experience in terms of drills and in terms of offensive and defensive systems that they might run. But in general, that's kind of how a practice looks like. It's about 2 hours, maybe 3, if you can go that long. But my personality, I don't think that we will retain much information past 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2.5, maybe at the most. And then if I'm showing film at the end of practice or before practice, then I typically cut practice down because, again, the mind and the retention of everything I'm showing needs to fit into kind of a 2-hour segment of time.
Great question, Greg. Kira, awesome answer. Next one that I have for you came in via message from Susan Hilliard on the call. Thank you, Susan. Great question here. Kira, what support would you like from the parents of the players? What does this look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear from you. Susan, please, if crew has my number and my email, please get in touch with me. I haven't had the ability yet to speak with any of my players' parents. I've spoken with all my players, but players' parents, I would like to have a conversation, right? I want you to know that I'm here for your daughter as well. So absolutely, let's have a conversation, whether it be virtually or whether it be just a phone conversation. I'd love to have one because I want you to know where we're headed in the future, how I can help her get to where she wants to go. And I truthfully believe I've bought into Knox, and I know that you guys have bought into Knox. So I want you to understand that I'm here for you as much as possible. Let's have the conversations early. Let's have them in September and October, prior to what we get to in November and December in terms of games. But I would absolutely love to have the excitement from you that I have from our young women right now as well, into the new generation and what we're going to do here with Knox and how we're going to develop our culture and really not develop, but uplift our culture, how we can uplift our culture and go forward. So any aspect, I'd love to have a conversation with you and just share your thoughts. I know I've met with some parents as they came in and dropped their players off. So anything along those lines, I'm good with, and we can absolutely set up a time that we can chat.
Fantastic. And I would even add on alumni too. Certainly welcome to hear from them as well. Well, Coach Mowen, next one I have for you that came in, Angie Elstone. So glad to have you on. She messaged in. She has a question about team building and how do you envision the girls getting together and bonding, as this may be different from previous years?
Yeah, I can answer that question right now. It's dicey. We have COVID, obviously, and the masking and everything goes into that. And it's not normal as to what I would prefer as a head coach. But who I am as a person and who I will be as a leader for your young lady is this. I will absolutely have team bonding activities at my house. I will absolutely try to have team bonding activities throughout the campus. And if we need to go off campus, I believe in building the culture, changing the culture. However you want to phrase it, I'm uplifting the culture that was already created. So in order to do that, I need to have those bonding opportunities. I have already met with our kind of captains and spoken with them about, a book I've read and what we're going to do in our first meeting as a team. So it's already kind of in place, but it's going to be a little bit different or might look a little bit different from the past. I've already committed to doing a Thanksgiving dinner. So I will be cooking 2 turkeys, 1 turkey, however many turkeys will feed my young women as we're on campus. With the cultural, I think I talked to Saxon Alvarez and there's, some cultural things that she'd like to bring to the dinner. Awesome. As long as I don't have to make every side, I'll be fine. I'll do the turkeys. So there's going to be some great team things going forward or moving forward. And as soon as we get to campus, I would love to have, the players over to my house, mask up as we are right now, but just to kind of have that, invite barbecue back together on September, whatever it may be. There's going to be those things moving forward. So it might not just be at my house, but it also, again, like I said, will be on campus, and I'll have some speakers speak with our young women about how to kind of grow together as a team. And I think that's the most important thing right now. We're going to grow together because I'm new as well. My assistant will be new as well. So we're all growing together moving forward. And I think it's important that we, talk about those things and, kind of lay them on the table as we enter into November and December.
Certainly. Next question. This came in from Terry Lee. Terry, great to have you on tonight. He asked, as you have moved through your coaching journey, what have been your greatest lesson or lessons learned that have really shaped your coaching style or philosophy?
I think, one of the biggest things I've learned in 12 years at coaching collegiately, and it might not have shaped my coaching style, but it might have just made me more cognizant of what is happening on and off the floor. It's the mental health aspect. And that is prior to COVID. So there's, been certain situations that I've been put in and that I've been faced with that, how to handle young women at this age, 18 to 22. And so I think that was probably the biggest lesson I have learned and learn not for nothing with how to deal with what is going on, but also how to handle it within a university or a college concept. So I think honestly, it wasn't anything X and O's. It was that. And mental health is extremely important. And being able to say, I'm not okay to a head coach or to an assistant coach is extremely important. And I think that was truthfully the biggest thing that I've learned. And again, outreach and how to help them also was part of that. But that was the biggest thing. In the past 12 years, that has been the biggest thing that I've learned, is how to help young women relate, but also deal with some things that they might be going through on their own.
Awesome. Awesome. I see this one came in from Nate. Nate, do you want to put me on, or you want me to ask for you? I see your camera's off.
I can totally ask it, crew. Thank you very much, sir. Coach, welcome. I'm very glad to hear about that mental health aspect. I think it's kind of underrated in today's world. I'm just curious what type of exercises you have implemented to address the mental health aspect, and what are you hoping to do going forward with the girls in that aspect?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is honestly, I'm not, my bachelor's degree and my master's degree are not in mental health. So the best thing I can do is have a listening ear to any one of my players. And after that, I think for me as a head coach and for my staff and whoever it may be, is we're going to allow and give resources for those young women. So, right, like I said it before, bringing in somebody to speak to them, multiple people, multiple speakers to talk about any issue that a female, not a male, but a female might be having in college athletics. So I think bringing in speakers is one of the biggest things that you can do, because I may not relate, but somebody else might relate very quickly to that young lady or multiple young ladies that are having that same issue. So I think that's, and again, bringing in speakers, I say it in the non-COVID world. So we might have to do those things virtually right now. And that's okay, because the message is the same, no matter if you're in the virtual or you're in person. It's just allowing and opening up the conversation and the dialogue to go those avenues. So I think that's one of the biggest things. For me as a head coach, open door policy, right? Like, I am moving a seat over. I would love to have every young woman in my office, 19 of them I would love to have them all in my office. I know that some of those things might get pushed to my assistant because they just don't feel comfortable. So having an assistant coach, right, that is ready to handle those questions or those concerns or anything that might be going on, and just is cognizant of the time that we're living in. So I think hiring the right person will help them, and it will also help them, filter kind of to me and what they need to do. Like I said before in my earlier introduction, I love relationships, so I still want them with my players. However, I know that they might rely on the assistant right now, but I think those are important things. Again, bringing in resources outside of myself and my assistant, but also other people that might be able to speak to them. And then just actively talking about it, right? Like, I'm okay to say I'm not okay, but how can we get there? How can I be okay? So to have those conversations with my young women is something that I will look to do September, but also throughout the season. So frequent meetings with me is going to be important. I'm an over communicator, and I want to know how everybody is feeling, how everyone is doing. So we will have conversations early and often in, whether it be in my office or on a park bench, we will have those conversations with each and every individual of our program.
So I'm going to jump in real quick. For those of you that don't know, Nate, you're being too modest. Nate is our play-by-play for men's and women's basketball. Nate sent me a tape about 1.5 years ago and said, hey, do you have room for me? And I listened to 20 seconds of Nate's tryout tape, picked up the phone, and you're hired. So if you did not tune in to a game last year, you have got to hear Nate call a basketball game. He is phenomenal. Nate, thank you for what you do for us. Nate has brought just a whole different vibe to our streaming. As you know, our streaming is pretty basic. So having Nate upstairs talking you through the game, man, if you have the chance to I actually at the games you'll see last year I had my headphones in, watching the game in the gym, listening to Nate, because it was just such a good experience. And we're trying to talk Nate into doing a few volleyball games this year. So let's make sure you guys show Nate some love. But thank you, Nate, for being on tonight. I know you're doing your homework, and that's appreciated. And for all the people on the call tonight, if you can't get to a game, please tune in to one of our streams. Nate's going to take good care of you. All right, crew, back to you.
Awesome. I can't believe I forgot to mention the intro for Nate. So Nate, my apologies, but again, glad to have you on. Kira, next one came in through the chat. And again, I do want to take this moment to say, if anybody has any questions, love to see them come through. So feel free to speak up. Kira, this one came in, said that caller noted you had played for a women's Hall of Fame basketball coach at Illinois. Tell us more about your experience there, and do you emulate her style in any way?
Well, I think the times have changed, but I'll do my best. Not for nothing, Coach Grants gave me a lot of great insight, and as an 18 to 22-year-old, like I said, I probably wasn't listening to any word she said. I got into the coaching profession, and I was like, oh yeah, she was speaking the truth in every aspect of every practice and every game. I will try to emulate as much as I can. And like I said, she is a Hall of Fame head coach, and I would love to emulate her. I would love to have that ability to be at that level that she was at. In terms of things, like I said, the game has changed, and we have to change and adapt. And I will do my best to still put my insight in from what I've learned, but also understand where I'm at right now in terms of women's basketball and what my players need. It's different. It's completely different. But in being someone who is like a rubber band, I can stretch and I can form back to what needs to happen. So, I think I will take a lot from her, but I will kind of give my own little spice to it in terms of Teresa.
Certainly great experience. Yes. The next one that came in, and this is a little bit of taking a few steps back. I know you highlighted it a little bit earlier. Says Knox women's basketball made the Midwest Conference tournament for the first time in quite a while, just 2 seasons ago. How do you plan to build upon that success and take the program to new heights?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, like I said before, the nucleus of what I've kind of been given, hopefully, all of my young women are listening right now, but hopefully they have kind of done their legwork this offseason. And I think in talking with them, a lot of them have actually been working. So taking that jump and taking that next step, yes, we want to compete for conference championships. So we want to be in that top 4 every year. We actually want to be in the top 2 every year. So we're at the last place game moving forward. It was one of the things that I told Daniela on my interview. I do want to reach for championships, and championships means I want to reach for them every year, but also get to the point where we are being ranked as a Midwest Conference team in the Division III rankings. So the steps on that are just, again, you heard one of my first words I said was gritty, right? There's going to be a lot of hard work that goes into these practices. My first player, one of them asked me when I had the conversation about how much we're going to run. Well, we're going to run so you're in shape to do what I want to do. Right. So at the end of the day, I think the hard work aspect is the biggest thing for us. And it might be a change, but change is good for these young women. Change is absolutely going to be good for these young women in terms of where we're going and where we're headed. And I think in order to adapt to, kind of my style and my culture, I think they'll be comfortable with it. But it's also my job to make them comfortable with it. And so that we don't have, hiccups. We will have them along the way, but we're trying to move forward into the November and the December timeframe of games to where we're kind of establishing who we are. And who we are is going to be pushing for those Midwest Conference championships every year in terms of being the 1 or 2 spots. So that way we can secure that, kind of berth. So that's a little bit about who we're going to be and kind of where we're headed. It's going to be a lot of hard work, though. They're going to have to, I think Coach Gibbons is on the phone right now. We are definitely going to talk about strength and conditioning and how to get them prepared for October 15th. And I think he's going to do a great job in terms of what we need. So moving forward, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. If anything, I could say hard work, that gritty mentality, that I'm going to roll up my sleeves and do anything you want, coach. And I'm going to instill that in them, and I'm going to help them get there.
Awesome. I think that's just so exciting to hear. And I hope everybody is as energized as I am just listening to Coach Mowen talk. Well, are there any final comments here before we start wrapping it up? Anything from the audience? Any remaining questions? I want to make sure we get them all answered while we have Kira on tonight. Anything else? All right, well, looks like we're going to forever hold our peace then, or something like that. So Kira, I'll let you say any final words that you may have, anything for the audience online tonight, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, I'm just excited, and I thank you guys for attending this virtual. I'm excited about the program. So please email me, give me a call. Let's chat about where Knox women's basketball is headed, because I'm excited about it. And I think that everyone should be too. And you might not have the passion I have right now, again, jumping out of my seat, ready to go. You could see that my mattress is packed in the background. I'm ready to get there. So Galesburg is, in the near very future for me. But no, I appreciate everybody for being on the call. And I definitely look forward to any conversation we have throughout the year. And I'm certainly just excited about every young woman, the 19 of them that I do have. We're going to do something great this year. And it's going to be spectacular, and we're going to push with that gritty mentality to get things done. So I hope that you guys can, get on that train with us and move forward with us. But I definitely appreciate any conversation or any email you might send. Let's have a conversation. I'm happy to it, and I'm open to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Mowen. And again, thank you all for logging on tonight. Really appreciated having all of you. Have a great rest of your night, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care now.
Bye-bye.